So in this notation, we are exploring sort of the transitions or the sort of in-between mixtures of what happens when you mix two primaries, right, in order to get a secondary, and then when you mix that secondary with each of your initial primary hues to get that in-between tertiary. So in this case, if we look over here, right, these are the basic categories that we're going to be exploring. So how do we get orange, right? We're mixing yellow and red, those two primaries. And then so initially we'll mix an orange that sits directly in the middle of our yellow and our red. So it's not too red and it's not too yellow, right? It's that sort of in between dead middle orange. Okay, then from there, we'll be mixing a yellow orange that sits again in that middle between yellow and orange, and then we'll be mixing a red orange that sits again directly in the middle of orange and red. Okay, one thing to think about is the value, right? How light or dark this is can be a little bit tricky to navigate, right? You'll notice that if you have a dead-on middle orange, it's going to actually be darker than you think it should be, right? But if you look, it'll still be hue-wise right in the middle of your yellow and your red. In violet, right, red, your two primaries, red and blue, when combined together, in the right quantities will give you that middle secondary hue called violet or purple, right? Violet. Red plus blue equals violet. You're going to be mixing and looking for that middle violet, and then between red and violet, you're going to get red violet, right? And that mixture that sits right between those two. Not too much to the red side, not too much to the violet side. Okay, and then the same with blue violet, right? Existing between violet and blue. Finally, then you'll be going in and you'll be mixing blue and yellow in order to get green, right? That in between hue, right? That is a secondary hue, a mixture of those two primaries. And then you will be then mixing the tertiary blue-green by mixing blue and some quantity of your green. And then the other tertiary yellow-green that sits, again, right in the middle of green and yellow. Okay, in order to do that, I actually gave you a slightly different looking diagram than what I have here. I redid your diagrams so that you actually have a little bit more room in between each of these. We can call them ladders, I guess, or scales. In between each of these scales, you have more space, so that you are it's much more easy for you to actually mask off these quickly without having to tear the tape down the middle and all this stuff. So do disregard the spacing of this and follow the photographed instructions as posted. Okay, so but just look, you can look at this as a process reference, right? And to this, how to go about mixing paint and the basic sequence of events. You can see now that how I've set this up. I have my orange up here and all this written out: yellow, yellow, orange, orange, red, orange to red. And this is actually what is on this scale. I've labeled everything ahead of time. I think that's really important and helpful. You don't have to erase these. You can go right over it. And that's actually helpful in telling you when you have good coverage. So let's see. We have here, right, we're starting out with our cool yellows, right? And then, so in our case, it is cadmium yellow light. I think it's easiest to go ahead and set up and paint, mask these off, paint them in, really working on really accurate, beautiful, smooth craft in your painting and in your masking. This is part of this exercise, right? And it was part of our last exercise too, is just kind of building momentum in our beautiful precision craft game. That's going to be important through the whole term. It's not, the only way to do things, but for us it is, right? So I recognize there are other there's other value in gestural painting or being able to see brush marks and whatnot, but this is not the place that we want that. Okay, so super smooth, super crisp edges, really nicely opaque and even surface. So we have that here. Once I move my hand, you'll see I've painted in my warm reds in throughout my different charts. I think it's good to sort of go ahead and paint in the parent colors here. Let's start this, and you will see, right? I am just painting in my oops, hold on. I guess yeah. Well, there may be some. I guess there may be some noise on this, but that's fine. I am painting in my my cadmium yellow medium. Right, I've already done the cool yellows, the cadmium yellow lights, just painting that in and just showing you sort of the strategy. Notice how I'm generally trying to go from starting at the tape edge and then painting away from it. That helps keep the paint from sneaking under the edge somewhat. You may need to do a couple of coats, depending. I don't remember if I do or not. You could get it smoother in looking at my craft. It's okay, but you could get it smoother. Okay. Oh yes, and I'm doing hair dryer because I'm going to go over it with another coat, right? And that's really important. The more you do this, the more you realize, oh my God, that hair dryer really does help keep things going. I'm going to kind of see about going through this a little faster, right? You can see I'm applying, right, my second coat here, things just a little bit, touching it up. Okay. And that's that for this. Okay. So on to the next video. Let's see. I'll post another one in just a second. So, okay. All right.